Hello, today's lesson is comprised of New York exam questions from the past, and it deals with discount, tax, and tip combined. So we're going to find out, for instance, what it's like to find the tax after a discount. So it's a combination of everything we've learned so far. So let's go ahead and get started. And by the way, I don't want you to be intimidated by the size of the number of questions. Many of the questions are just one page. And in addition, I want to talk about two methods. And I'm going to ask you to find the method that speaks to you, which one makes most sense to you. However, I do want to compare them because oftentimes we're asked to compare equations that would actually lead to the answer, and those equations can be in different forms. So let's move forward. David bought a computer that was 20% off the regular price of $1,080. If an 8% sales tax was added to the cost of the computer, what is the total price David paid for it? It's always a great idea to highlight and draw your attention to the information that's given. For instance, they mentioned 20% off the regular price, and the regular price is $1,080. They mentioned that 8% sales tax was added, there's a clue word, to the cost of the computer, and they asked for the total price that David paid for it. So before we begin, I want you to look at the price of the computer. Think about that we're being asked to find sales tax and also take off a 20% discount. And I'd like you to try to guess what you think the answer should be. As with most problems, there's different ways we can approach and solve this. So our first method is going to be to find the discount amount in money and then subtract to find the sale price. So we're going to subtract from the original total to find the sale price. So let's start that method first. And once again, we can use different methods. I'm going to choose to write an equation. I'm going to use the part equals rate times total, but if you're a proportion person, you can write a proportion. So based on the information that's given, I don't know the part. That's the part that is a discount. I do know that the percentage rate they gave us was 20%, and it's 20% of $1,080. Remember, we can't multiply yet because we have percent, which is in the wrong family of numbers. So we're going to change it by scooping the decimal or dividing by 100. And we're going to get 0 2/10 times 1,080. Pause and use your calculator, please. And that part is $216. And if we think about this, this is approximately $1,000. This is approximately $200, and that would make sense that 200 out of 1,000 would be approximately 20. So now we're going to continue, and with this method it says find the tax amount based on the sale price, because we're not done, but we didn't yet do what it asks us to do up above. It asks us to subtract this amount. So I'm going to take 1,800 and I'm going to subtract the discount, the amount I get to save. So this is money and this is money. So use your calculator and do that, please. And that answer is 864. And again, you can do this by hand. I'm just trying to move quickly through this. So this is our sale price right now. That's what we found is a sale price. So the second step says that we have to find the tax amount based on the sale price and then add it. So we're going to use either a proportion or we're going to use our equation, and you have a choice. I'm going to do this one based on the equation. So again, I'm looking for the part that is the sales tax. The sales tax rate they gave us was 8%, and this is hugely important. This time, the total I'm working with is $864. They're not going to charge me tax on something I'm not paying. I'm not paying $1,080. I'm paying $864. So we're going to continue by taking 8 divided by 100, or scooping the decimal twice, and you're going to get 0 and 8/100ths. And if you think about it, 8 would be 8 out of 100, so that makes sense. So we're going to take 0 and 8/100ths times 864 on your calculator. And that part is $69.12. But wait, we're not done. We're going to take that and add it. So we're going to take the discounted amount that we have, $864, and we're going to add the tax, $69.12. So pause and use your calculator again, or add it on your own. And that answer is $933.12. Do we see that answer up above? Well, we sure do. So I'm feeling relatively confident that we've found the answer. So now let's see what this whole thing looks like if you would have chosen a different method. And this would be based on kind of using a tape diagram. This is often used using a tape diagram. It says subtract the discount percent from 100%. So if I started with a tape diagram and we said this was 100% and this was the original amount of 1,080, I would take off about 20%. And this would be my save percent, and my pay percent would be 80. So I'm subtracting the discount percent from 100. Again, here's how I got that 80%. I took 100% minus the discount percent, and it left 80%. So from that, I'm going to use 80% to write my equation. I'm going to start with part equals rate times total. Part equals 80% times the total of 1,080. After you move the decimal point and make this 0 and 8/10 times 180, you're going to get exactly the same answer we have here, 863. So pause and try that. Confirm that that's what you have on the calculator. What this method does for us is it subtracts before we do our calculation. Basically, it takes a percentage minus the discount percent, and so we're using 80%, which saves us subtraction afterwards. But if you think about it, we're basically subtracting at some point. We can either find the discount and subtract it, or we can start by subtracting the percent and then use that. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. And so you're going to have to use what you prefer. But I want you to know that both methods are valid. So now let's continue. Now we have to deal with the tax. We're going to add the tax percent to 100% using the sale price as a dollar amount. So again, then I'm going to model this using a tape diagram. Here is our full amount. This is 100%, but here's the key. We're no longer working with 1,080. We're working with 864. That's the amount that we would pay the sale price. And now if we're dealing with tax, we have to add our 8% on. So if I add these percentages together, it's going to equal 108%. So I'm now going to use that 108% along with my discounted amount. I'm again going to use the equation method. I'm going to take the part, and this seems unusual because it's not necessarily part. This percent is larger than 100%, times 864. Again, I'm looking for the answer, and I have to move my decimal, scoop it over twice, or divide by 100, times 864. And so once again, pause and use your calculator, please. And hopefully you see a familiar answer. It's $933.12. Once again, if we compare what happened, here we found the tax and we added it as a dollar amount. Here we added the percent of the tax and used that along with 100%. We added those together first to find this. And whatever method you prefer is what I want you to use. This next question is very similar, but it's tax after a tip. So tax we add and tip we add. So we're going to add and then add, but we have to do this first. So let's read through the problem. Julia's service charge at a beauty salon was $72.60 before tax. The sales tax rate was 8%. If she added 20% of the amount before tax as a tip, how much did she pay for the service at the salon? And again, based on this, knowing we're going to add tax and we're going to add a tip of 20%, make a guess as to what you think the answer might be. So this particular problem is very similar to what we did, only we're going to add instead of subtracting both times. So let's highlight our information. This was the service charge, $72.60 before the tax. The tax rate was 8%, and the 20% was the amount of tip, and they mentioned before tax. So we have to take care of the gratuity or the tip before, and they want to know how much the total amount is that you paid. So if we start with method 1, it would look like this. We'd find the tip amount and then add it. So I'm going to choose to use the equation. Part would equal 20% because we're using the tip amount with 20% times a total of $72.60. We would move the decimal and take $72.60. So pause and use your calculator. And that should be $14.52. So we have to add that to the total. So we're going to take $72.60 plus $14.52. And that should be $87.12. So now that's the amount that we're going to base the tip on. So let's see if we get that using the second method. So if we use this method, we're going to start with a tape diagram. We're going to start with a bar, which is worth 100%, and it's $72.60. And then we're going to add on the gratuity. So we're adding on 20%. So we would add those 2% to get 120%. So we would start with part equals 120% times $72.60. So when we move the decimal, we're going to get 1.2 or 1 2/10 times $72.60. So pause and use your calculator again. And we got $87.12 both ways. So now here's where this problem diverts from the other problem. When we had our tax after discount, we were basing our tax on the discounted amount. However, when we talk about tip, that's gratuity, and that's something we freely give to somebody for their service, but it's not included in the total that we're charged tax on. Tax is solely on the amount for the service, and this is just an additional amount. But we added it on based on this. So this is the amount that we're going to add on to, but we're going to base the tax onto what the service charge was. So that's the total we're working with. So we're now going to go back and find the tax, the part based on what they gave us. 8% is the tax amount, but we have to go back to the original service charge of $72.60. So we're going to find the part. Again, divide 8 by 100, and you'll get 0 800ths times $72.60. So pause and use your calculator, please. So on the calculator, we get 5.808. Now, we have to add this on to our $87.12 because that's the amount including the tip. However, our tax is just based on the amount of service. So we're going to add 5.808. Notice I didn't round. Rounding is always the last step. And you can go ahead and add this. And if you recall, now that we've added, we have to use our what? This is the whole number, dot, the dollars, dimes, and pennies. And this 8 tells this to go up. So we have $92.93. So let's look and see if that's a familiar number up above. And you can see that B is going to be the answer. So if I wanted to use the second method, this would not work. Here's why. We have the amount with the gratuity, but our tax is based not on the amount with our gratuity. So we could not work with this amount. We could find the tax based on this, but recall that we added the tax onto the number that already had the gratuity in it. If we use a tape diagram with 100% plus 8%, we'd have to use this amount because we're trying to find the tax on the amount for services. If we added it onto this amount and used this amount, we would get too much. So it is not efficient to use this. So this would be the method we'd prefer to use based on this particular problem. All right, so we're almost finished. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to do this problem on your own. And let's read through it. A group of friends went to lunch. The bill before sales tax and tip was $37.50. A sales tax of 8% was added. The group then tipped 18% on the amount after the sales tax was added. What's the amount in dollars of the sales tax? Okay, so they're just asking you actually for the sales tax. And then later on, they're going to ask what the total amount the group paid, including tax and tip. So generally speaking, most of the time people tip on the total, which it does indeed include the sales tax. So on this particular problem, when you're trying to find the total, you're going to include the tax first and then base the tip on that. So our last problem was unique and something that I haven't necessarily seen before, where someone adds 20% gratuity before the tax is added. So this is more standard to just let the tax be added to the check and then base your gratuity on that total amount. Thank you for watching and have a good afternoon.